From Keira Knightley jumping into the sea, to Javier Bardem in zombie paint,
you will soon pay for what you did to me.
The Pirates of the Caribbean movies don't always take the digital cop-out, but how do they look without CGI? Let's find out. Yarr! The Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is a treasure chest that's full of insane action sequences, and some of them require the actors to get their hands dirty without taking any digital shortcuts. When it comes to crazy practical battle sequences though, the big climax in At World's End is a rollicking good time. As you can see, the chaos sees the swashbucklers going crazy on a ship and getting really wet in the process. The CGI was used to enhance the environment and all that jazz, but the actors really did have to overcome some serious obstacles beforehand. Some of you might be thinking that acting out these sequences looks like a lot of fun. Well, think again. It was actually pretty dangerous and uncomfortable for the cast and crew. Here's what Keira Knightley had to say on the matter.
And just trying to see, to actually know where to hit. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the safest thing I've ever done.
That's an example of one of the more ambitious action sequences, but the simpler ones were just as stressful. You see, learning how to become a swordmaster took time and patience behind the scenes. Before the on-screen bandits got to engage in grandiose action scenes, the actors had to get acquainted with their weapons. After a while, it became like second nature to them, especially for Orlando Bloom.
Your muscles have memory in the same way that your brain does, so when you're learning a sword routine, you kind of go over the routine numerous times in order for it to sort of sink in.
After mastering the basics, things got a little bit heated for Orlando, quite literally too. Here he is with a flaming blade. Prior to becoming a badass fighter in her own right, Elizabeth Swann started out as a damsel in distress with fancy clothes. But Keira Knightley didn't want to sit around on the set of Curse of the Black Pearl looking pretty.
You like pain? Try wearing a corset.
So when she was offered the chance to do her own dangerous stunt, she took it. Here she is creating the famous scene in the first movie that saw her walk the plank. As you'll see, it was completely authentic.
I was like, I've been standing up here for 2 days. Do you really think that I'm not going to jump off this thing? I came up smiling, actually. It was fantastic.
What makes this franchise stand out from other blockbusters that deliver high-octane action? It's the characters, of course. And in order to make them exciting, they have to look the part. That meant the costumes had to be on point long before they were sprinkled with CGI flourishings.
I think the presumption we've made is that they are from a floating 50-year environment. You know, theirs is a much more kind of organic look.
After the dirty attires were locked down, the filmmakers started to really experiment with how their actors looked. Johnny Depp is aging like a fine wine, but audiences got to see his younger self make an appearance in Pirates of the Caribbean 5. But before actors can be de-aged, their contemporary personas must do what they do best: act. To achieve Depp's youthful look in the movie, the filmmakers studied his real-life appearance during his time on 21 Jump Street for inspiration. After that, Depp had to perform the scenes in question with CGI tracking dots sprinkled all over his face. A younger actor was then brought in to perform the scenes, presumably to give him more nimble movement. Then the digital wizards combined all of these separate elements to create the 20-something Jack Sparrow. The process took a year to complete, but I'm sure you'll agree that the results were pretty neat. Digitally de-aged Johnny Depp is cool and all, but the real magic of these flicks is the monsters. The Pirates of the Caribbean movies boast a rogues gallery of creepy villains, but who's in makeup and which ones are the product of digital magic? Captain Salazar is one gooey ghoul.
I always leave one man alive to tell the tale. Find Sparrow for me and relay a message from Capitan Salazar.
But just how did the filmmakers manage to turn Javier Bardem into nightmare fuel? Most of that credit goes to the makeup artists for sticking with paint and prosthetics for the most part. course, this is still a Hollywood blockbuster. Naturally, some digital pizzazz was added to Salazar and his gang of ghosts to make them look even scarier.
This is prosthetics that we've applied. As you can see, it's curling back, and that to get this effect, to get this 3D effect.
They also had to use CGI for one of Salazar's grosser characteristics. Get ready to lose your mind over this one.
You can see him with dots on his face, so that when we finally see him, all that side of his head will be actually blown off. There won't be anything there at all.
Now let's talk about the disgusting gunk that pours out of Salazar's mouth when he speaks for too long. In an interview with Tools to Tiaras, the actor revealed that the filmmakers lied to him about the liquid, much to everyone else's dismay. They told me it was supposed to be like chocolate. Chocolate my ass, that tasted worse than that, and they were supposed to put it on the teeth. I said gimme that, so I drank it and then I went to play the first scene. I think it was with Jeffrey Rush and it started to pour out of my mouth and he was very disgusted. That's a shame. I bet plenty of ladies would love to make out with this hunk. Davy Jones is entirely a CGI creation. I mean, that much is obvious, right?
Do you feel death?
If you think Salazar is impressive, wait till you get a load of Davy Jones. He's a CGI creation, but bringing the sexy squid to life still demanded a strong human performance from actor Bill Nighy. The process essentially saw the filmmakers use motion capture to create the tentacled terrorizer, which meant Bill had to rock a groovy bodysuit and walk around the set with markers on his face.
The crew are not bound to me. They are bound to the Dutchman. And the Dutchman must have a captain.
Additionally, Nighy wore makeup on his lips and around his mouth to help the motion capture pick up his speaking patterns. And the end result is one of the best computer-generated creations of its era.
Nice sword.
The same technique was used for turning Johnny Depp into an undead monstrosity.
You just have the heart.
You'd be forgiven for thinking that creature is Johnny Depp in makeup and prosthetics. According to animation supervisor Hal Hickel, however, it was always their goal to deceive the audience. And it worked, as the CGI looks realistic.
Reaction we were trying to get from the audience was to say, oh my god, look what they did to Johnny Depp, rather than saying, oh look at the cool computer-generated creature.
It does seem to put immortality a bit out of reach.
When it comes to monsters that haunt the seas, however, few are deadlier than the Kraken. This giant beastie has the power to destroy ships and throw human beings around like it ain't no thing. Unsurprisingly, creating this formidable foe was more complex than makeup and motion capturing. It required an ambitious undertaking of CGI and practical elements. Here's special effects coordinator Alan Hall explaining how they created the giant tentacles.
We actually had two big giant pipes filled with 30,000 pounds of cement, so 60,000 pounds of weight crashing down on top of the deck.
In order to get the ship to split in half, the crew had to take all of the steel out of its structure, and then they rigged the wood with explosives to help the pipes lay waste to the boat. During post-production, the special effects guys replaced the pipes with CGI tentacles to bring the monster to life. But what about all of those humans we saw being tossed around? Francois Lambert is the best fellow to explain how they made that happen.
We shot a couple of people on another set. So basically all those crew members have been added on the deck right there, so we can see them pretty clearly in this side.
Then, to bring it all together, animated doppelgangers of the actors were created to give the Kraken some victims to throw around.
So at some point we switched to a CG character, so it's gonna be replaced by a computer graphic double. So this is like the early stage of animation.
While you're still here, be sure to check out our video on what the Harry Potter franchise looks like without CGI as well.